All right, guys, here we are, another week of the Monday Huddle, where you learn to beat your Monday tips, tricks, ideas, how to win and knock Monday out. I'm G.
I'm Derek.
And here we go with bringing you some good stuff, the goods.
I love G's intro, by the way. Like, I think he's done it enough to where he's got it down. And it's like, yo, what's up? What's doing? Like, he just go to the Like, if y'all not doing it with us, y'all not watching the episodes, right? So I want you to rewind and do it again with us. Because the intro is popping. It's consistent. I enjoy it. Thanks for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. You know, every week we start out with a quote. And, man, do we got a quote for you today. The quote says, you don't have to be great to start, but you got to start to be great. Ooh. I love a good quote when they flip the joint. Like, you don't know what you don't know. That's one of yours, right? I love, like, when they flip the joint, like, you don't have to be great to start, but you got to start to be great. Wonderful friend of the show. He's not really a friend of the show. I'm just inviting people out to be friends of the show. Right. This is the great Zig Ziglar, which, when it comes to leadership, I mean, he's one of the guys. He's one of the greats. G, what do you think about this? You don't have to be great to start, but you got to start to be great.
So it reminded me of a quote that I shared recently, a couple of days ago on social media, and it talked about being great and living on purpose, or living in your purpose on purpose.
Living in your purpose
on purpose.
I like that.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you, though?
I mean, is intentionally. You got to be intentional, right? I used to think about intentionality as a negative thing, like, ooh, G is intentional. You know, he's got an agenda. And I almost was like, oh man, I got to be careful. And I realized, no, I have to have intention. Yeah. And so I was so like, there was a time in my life, Mr. Derek Sire, that if folks called me up and was just kind of like, hey, listen, I just want to have coffee with you. No agenda, no motive. Let's just, hang out and have some coffee. And I was like, no, thank you. If we don't have an agenda for the meeting, like, why are we meeting?
Yeah, I get that.
I pull back a little bit, mostly because I like coffee.
Secondly, because I like people, but mostly because of coffee.
Right.
But I think this is good. Like, I think we have to know where we are in life in order to be able to say yes and no.
That's right.
Right? Like, I think, I know for me, I've considered actually going on a people fast, right? Because I love people so much. And if I have a project that's due and somebody hits me up and they're like, hey, what are you doing right now? I'm absolutely going to choose people every time. And so I've been thinking about actually going on a people fast of like only saying yes when there's intentionality behind it. Does it fit my goals for the month, for the quarter, for the year? If not, then maybe I need to hold on to relationships a little bit. Like the relationships I need to hold on are the people that can take those no and still be friends with me versus people that are connected with me only based on my yes. And I think there's lots of things that I've done that have prevented me from the start to be great. But I think there's some things that I can do that I could start doing in order to make sure that my greatness has the greatest potential of taking place.
Most people say that cuss words are 4-letter words. But there's one cuss word that's a 2-letter word.
2-letter word. And we all know what it is.
No. When folks hear no, like to them, they're like, oh. Like, no. I'm appalled.
Right. How dare you?
Right. So we have to be intentional. We were talking in the last or a couple of sessions ago in regards to wanting to be great and not stay stuck in one place. Greatness is a desire that we should have and a seed that's on the inside of us. And I hear people say you should be allergic to average.
Ooh,
you should be allergic. Quote. Like average, if you're okay with average, like that's like buying something and be like, it's only broke a little bit. It mostly works.
Yeah.
No, when you go to a restaurant, we know that the food is okay there, so it's cool. Yeah. You know what I mean? I like their cinnamon rolls. You know what I'm saying? And so you spend money on an entire meal that you dislike, so that you could get to the dessert.
Wow.
We have to have a mindset. Listen to me. Listen, right? Rattle the screen. Listen, have a desire to want to be great. Not that you're trying to one up anyone. Not that you're trying to be this individual that folks are looking at on this high pedestal.
Yeah.
But when you want to be great for you. You want to get in shape for you. When you try to do that for other people, you wind up giving up along the way.
You know, I think about people like great. I don't know how many people start with great in mind. I know that a lot of people, I know there's a few people like, I'm going to be great. I'm going to be president. I'm going to be the best NBA player. I'm going to be the greatest. But I think most people struggle with starting. Before they can even consider great, they've talked themselves out of starting.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
What are some things that prevent people from starting? Well, we could just spitball. I'll go first. I think maybe fear. Prevents people from starting. Maybe the fear of failure prevents people from starting. They don't want to be met with the expectation of not succeeding or not arriving. So in order to not be disappointed, then they don't even start. It's fear.
Yeah.
What's another one?
I think people pleasing.
Ooh.
You know, like whenever, like let's say for example, you're like, I'm set out to be great.
Yeah.
Some people just kind of like that.
Like, who are you?
Roll off of there. I want to be good. Because you are worried about what other people are going to say.
Yeah.
You could even say it, and if no one connects with you or no one encourages you, you immediately become deflated after you say that.
Wow.
Like if I'm like Derek, listen, man, I just want 2023 I want to be great this year, and you're just kind of like, hey, listen, G, can you go get that tissue box over there? Like immediately I'm deflated because I didn't get you to co-sign me.
Yeah. And we can't wait for people to co-sign our greatness. Otherwise, it's always the external mark that will limit us, right? And there's two things that happens. One, I don't know that people can buy into us more than we buy into ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then two, I think that we can't let people's failure to buy in prevent us from going where we want to go. Right? That's a lesson for me. I'm preaching to myself right now because oftentimes I look externally for like, hey, did you enjoy this? Hey, tell me I'm great. Hey, tell me I did well. Versus me knowing the effort that I put into it and knowing that's all that I had.
Yeah.
So another thing that I think about when I think about failure or the fear to be great, I think also people, they don't start because they don't see, right? And it's like, well, where am I going? Like I know people that want to work out and it's like, well, what do I do? And it's like, go do something, right? Jumping jacks, hop on the treadmill, walk, elliptical, row, like pick up a weight, set it down, pick it up again, set it down again. So it's like people, I think lack of vision prevents people from starting. What's something else that keeps people from starting?
Motivation. So there are two types of motivation, or people are motivated in one of two ways. There's one motivation that when someone says you can't do it, then you want to prove them wrong. And then there's another type of motivation that if you come with me and we do it together, then that motivates me. Like you co-sign me.
Yeah.
And so you're either in one of those two areas, right? I feel like I'm a little bit in the middle. I love when people co-sign me, but then I love when people challenge me. Like
when you doubt me, when you say I can't do it, it can't be done.
Watch. You know, you do the gun in the air, the two-finger gun.
Watch. I like that. I never really thought about that, but it's true. Like I can specifically remember people saying that I couldn't do something, and that makes me want to do it. It's almost like telling a kid almost like not to do that, and they're like, "Don't do this." Like,
I'm gonna do it anyway.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's an element of wanting to achieve what people said that couldn't be done, but also, hey man, you can do that. And I was like, I can. Yeah, you can do that. And I was like, I can.
Yeah.
And so I can see those motivations being differently. One of the quotes that I came across recently said, when you don't have motivation or inspiration, have discipline. Discipline is my word for the year, for 2023. When you're not motivated, when you're not inspired, be disciplined. And I think discipline can oftentimes give you the same result as motivation.
Yeah.
Like when I'm motivated to write, like I kick it out, like but I don't write oftentimes from discipline. But when I do, I still write. And so I think that's something that we have to understand as people that want to accomplish, that want to become better, that wants to improve, go to the next level, that it doesn't always feel good to do it, but it always feels good after it's done.
That's right. Well, you think about an Olympic gold medalists, right? They don't, when they're standing on that top step with the gold medal around their neck, they're not thinking to themselves, all them days that I sacrificed what I wanted to eat and all of the hard running and the coach yelling at me. They're celebrating the victory.
The moment,
right?
I won, I did it.
Only do they celebrate the victory, their team celebrates the victory. The team that went with them through the sacrifice. And I think that some of the things that prevent us from starting is our circle, right? There are people that want to celebrate with you but are not willing to fight with you.
That's real.
Get people around you that will fight with you but that will also celebrate with you, so that as you're navigating and doing life together, you can get to a place of all of you having this buy-in and saying, we made it, and now we have something to celebrate.
You know, that reminds me of another reason I believe people don't start is because maybe they don't want to start alone. Like often people, they hate, they don't anticipate, they despise the loneliness of discipline or loneliness of success. And I once heard a quote that says, if you believe it's lonely at the top, then you did it the wrong way. Or I think they said something like, if you got to the top and you're by yourself, you did it the wrong way. And so this reminds me of G saying, like, get yourself some people that will not only fight with you and grow with you, but that will also celebrate you. There are so many people that arrive with a team. I think that LeBron James got a team, right? Michael Jordan, yeah,
he is a team.
Kevin Hart has a team. Like people like move with teams now. Maybe they did in the past, but it's a lot more visible now. Even G in his leadership style, he's like, I can't do it all by myself.
That's right.
I don't want to do it all myself. So let me empower people so that we can all move as a team. So if I win, we win.
That's right.
Like
that's
together.
Right. And there's some people that are on your team that no one will ever know about.
That's good.
Right? And so you have to have people around you that are not trying to play outside of what their role is.
Wow. Know
Keep
your role.
the right people at the right. Think about this, right? That we don't do this often, but let's bring the Bible into the mix of this thing.
Let's bring it on in. Come on.
There was a group of people that created a team and said, let's build a tower to heaven.
Yeah.
And this team looked like they had the potential of making it happen. Now, God was just kind of like, listen, y'all not building a tower up here. Let me go ahead and bring some confusion to your language so that I can disrupt the team.
Yeah.
Because there's a good team. They just had the wrong motive and agenda.
Yeah, wrong heart. Yeah. Yeah.
So imagine if you have the right team, the people that are willing to play their part, and if there's a front runner, good leaders push their leaders.
Yeah.
And good leaders have some good people that are pushing them. And so as you start, right?
Wow.
As you're starting and as you're at a place of wanting to be great, who's pushing you to be great?
Yeah. I heard two things just now, and I don't know if you meant to drop these nuggets. G is always doing this, by the way. He said, with a good team, sky's the limit. That's what I heard. It's not exactly what he said, but with a good team, the sky's the limit. Second thing he says, that good leaders have leaders that they push, but good leaders also have people that are pushing them.
Yeah.
That's so good. Like oftentimes we have these different perspectives of what leadership is, right? I know that you all have seen it where the leaders like pulling from the front, and then the other leaders are like yelling from the back, telling people where to go, and people have different leadership styles.
Right.
But I've never thought about leaders, good leaders have other leaders that they push, but they also have people that are pushing them.
That's right.
And to me, if you're trying to figure out how to start, that's the conversation of the day. It says you don't have to be great to start, but you got to start to eventually end up being great.
That's right.
And if you are a leader, not only are you pushing someone, but you have somebody else pushing you to at least start.
Yeah. Think about this. Can you be a great mom until you had the kids?
Can't be a mom without kids, can you? I don't think you can.
Can you be a great dad without having kids?
You gotta have kids to be
Right?
that.
You can't be a great leader unless you have followers.
Who you leading if ain't nobody following?
Nobody's following. I'm a leader.
Where?
Who?
Right.
Who, right? And so I think that we can't be self-proclaimed a great or a person that self-proclaims themselves to be great. You got to start.
I agree. And you got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Last week we talked about the starting point of like, don't let your past determine what you can do in your future. You can only control what you have now. Like start now, what's in your hand.
That's right.
And I think the greatness about that is that you never become great unless you start. And oftentimes people think they started because they were great.
That's right.
Right?
That's
The
right.
only reason they succeeded is because they were already great. Right? If they hadn't had this, they would have never done it, and they never would have started. But I know more people than not who had very little when they started, and they just kept walking.
That's right.
And as they kept walking, kept growing, kept expanding, then they acquired more things that helped them to eventually arrive at greatness.
Yeah, so let's talk about this, right? You can't step into something unless you've stepped out of something.
Gee,
Like, you can't be outside if you're still inside.
let's say you get flies in your house.
Yeah, and so we got to, you can't enjoy this amazing summer weather if you're
Yeah.
still dressing like you did when you were dressing for winter season.
That's good.
So I think about this, a baby in the womb, the way that it receives its nutrients is through the umbilical cord. When the baby comes outside from the womb, everything changes.
Everything changes.
And what does he do because everything changes?
You adjust.
He cries.
Yeah.
At first he's like, you know what I mean? The doctor gives him a good spanking, him or her.
Yeah.
And all
Like,
of a sudden
whoa.
they're just kind of like, I'm not in a sack of water.
Right.
Hello?
I'm breathing air.
Right.
I'm like, yeah.
And then they get hungry and they're like, wait a minute, hungry? I've never felt hungry before. And now they have to learn how to suckle so that they can get fed,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so they're like, I'm wet. I have some weight that's hanging from my rear end. I never felt that before. And so there's an adjustment. They entered into a new dimension.
Yeah.
The only way to be able to enter into your greatness is to come out of the past, the things that you've been stuck in, maybe the relationships, maybe the jobs, maybe a mindset.
Yeah.
For you to be great, for you to step into greatness, you got to step out of something. And we have to have a good starting point. It's kind of like the movie Indiana Jones. They went through this big all of these different obstacles, and they get to a place where behind them the enemy is coming, and in front of them is this big gap, right, where they're just thinking, how are we going to get to the other side? Do you know what the thing that they had to do for them to begin to start walking over to the other side?
What did they do?
They just took a step. All of a sudden, the bridge appeared
Yeah. Because they took the step.
because they took a step. What bridges are waiting to appear in your life by you just needing to take that one step?
You know, I want to take it a bit further, and I want to say that we may have to step out of some friendships. We may have to, because we talked about mindset and jobs, we may have to step out of certain communities in order to thrive. I know that people, you want to be real and you want to never forget where you came from, and you want to, but I think oftentimes people get trapped. They get sucked back in. They get limited, right? Their potential, their capacity only remains at a certain level because they won't leave a certain space. It's almost like you want to be the big fish in a small pond, but you only grow to become a bigger fish in bigger environments. And so that means your diet has to change, your diet for conversation, the diet for what you consume,
That's right.
whether it be what you read, what you watch, what you're listening to, right? Your diet of people, right, has to change, right? The way that you dress, like all these different things, you may have to step out of some old skin to get into some new skin, out of old environment, out of old relationships in order to get into new places. And the best way to do it is to just start.
That's right.
It's to just step.
That's right. Listen, a snake is slithery and slimy, and it even sheds itself from itself.
Ooh.
So often we get to a place of almost a mindset that is so hard to break from. And we have to be committed to saying, listen, I'm going to start. I'm a little nerve-wracked, but I'm going to start.
Yeah.
It doesn't look the way that it needs to, but I'm going to start, right? No one showed me the way, but I'm going to start, all right? And as you begin to take these steps, little by little, we learn something from COVID, and that's flying the plane in the air.
Right? You can build it while we're in there.
You build it while you're there. Sometimes we have to do that. We want to wait for perfect conditions. We want to wait for everything to be okay. We want to wait for all of the right people to be in our life, and sometimes it just doesn't work out that way.
Yeah.
But waiting eventually gets us to a place where we wind up doing nothing.
You got to start. I like that. I may not know, and I may not have the experience, but I got to start. Right? I mean, you think about just being a parent. Nobody I mean, you can read all the books in the world. You can take all the parenting classes. You can go premarital counseling. You can do all the stuff. But it starts when you get married, right? Like, you can do the pre-work, but like class in session, you get to figure out how to be a spouse when you get married. You can practice all, but until you make the commitment and you take that step.
Yep. You can read all the books you want to.
Listen, man.
You could get all the advice. You could get all the counsel. But until you in it.
Listen. Well, you talking to two married men right here. Like,
Come on!
Listen, it's valuable. So that's the quote for the day, right? There are a lot of people, hopefully, as you're watching this, you've identified some areas in which you have been complacent, stagnant, frozen, fearful, hesitant. And we want to encourage you to just take a step, right? We're talking about you don't have to be great in order to start, but you got to start to eventually arrive at greatness. We want you to think of some areas right now. Just stop and think. What are some areas that I need to start in? I just need to start, right? Tomorrow you may not arrive at your destination, but it's more about the journey, right? The journey of taking one step after another, step after another. We want to make sure that you all, even if you don't start with greatness in mind, that you just start.
That's right. That's right. Listen, a couple of things that I want to leave you with on this podcast is this. What are some things that you need to stop doing that you shouldn't be doing? And what are some things that you need to start doing
That's a great question.
that you should be doing? Answer those two
That's a great question.
as you begin to enter into a season of beginning to be great. Listen, this is your week of the Monday Huddle. We are cheering for you, but you got to cheer for yourself. Go be great.
Ooh!
I'm G.
I'm Derek.
And this is the Monday Huddle.
Peace.